If you've ever had a child bring you a school permission form for something you had no idea was happening, this podcast is for you. Staying connected as a parent is this week's discussion, starting right now. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Inside Scoop. I'm David Owen. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share the podcast if you find it helpful. The first few weeks of school can be overwhelming. Learning who your child's teachers are, the expectations they have, and keeping up with student schoolwork is a lot, especially if you've got multiple kids. You may be in need of some insights to rein it all in. So here to offer some help is Cobb School's Chief of Staff, Sherri Hill. Sherri, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
If you would, tell us a little bit about your background in the school buildings. You're currently at the support center.
Sure.
Which some people used to refer to as central office, but we've kind of changed that. Tell us a little bit about where you were and what you did in those buildings.
So I started teaching in 1993. I moved here to Cobb County and started teaching in 1998 at Milford Elementary School. And when I left Milford, I went to Pittner Elementary School as an instructional lead teacher, a staff development person, all of those things, working with teachers. Then I was an assistant principal, and I was a principal for, I believe, about 8 years, an assistant principal for 3 years. I was an assistant superintendent for East Cobb Elementary Schools for 3 years. I was the chief school leadership officer for 6 years, where I had the assistant superintendents and leadership report to me, and then we really evaluated and supervised all 13 schools that we have. And then this is my second year as chief of staff. And as Mr. Ragsdale often says, our district has two types of employees, those who teach and those who serve those who teach. So I'm definitely in the serve and support realm and have been for the last several years. And it's my honor and pleasure to be in that space.
So going back to the topic of this podcast, staying connected and involved as parents, that's challenging at all three levels. So how can parents stay connected or get connected and stay connected in their students' education overall?
So I have 3 graduates of the Cobb County School District, one in 2017, one in 2020, and then the last in 2023. So as a teacher, building leader, principal, and all the things, the best way to get connected is through the teacher and that classroom. It is imperative to get to know the teacher, have that relationship, and have that connection with the teacher. So that is really where it starts. And then just getting engaged and subscribing to the newsletter, making sure you receive whatever the teacher's newsletter, whether it's a blog or whatever in CTLS, parent that you have, making sure that all of your information is updated so that you get those messages from the teachers. And then you also understand what the teacher's expectations are, what the standards are. There's so many standards and things that the kids are learning, and the teachers will send out, like, here's what we're doing in this unit. Here's what we maybe need for the classroom. Here's maybe where there's some volunteer opportunities, or even at the school level, like, here are some things that we're doing. Here's some activities where we need help. Here's what we need in our class. So really staying connected at that classroom level and then at the school level. So then if there are any questions that come up, really the teacher is the first point of contact for any questions. And then after that, maybe it's the assistant principal or it's the principal that a parent may need to contact. But I would say 95% of questions could potentially be answered at the classroom level with the teacher.
Okay, and that communication is always key, and the relationship is key, right? So if you maintain a positive relationship, for example, if you give the teacher a little benefit of the doubt, if there's ever a doubt on something, that goes a long way, right? So just human relations. So what are some tangible ways of doing all this? You mentioned CTLS Parent. Can you tell us a little more about, I'm sure a lot of the viewers, listeners are aware of CTLS Parent, but maybe they don't understand fully what it allows them to do and help with in terms of this issue.
So CTLS Parent is amazing. So at one point, I had a child in elementary, one in middle, and one in high school. Well, I was the elementary principal, so I could kind of keep up with that.
That's cheating.
But downloading that app or making sure your information is updated. I don't know how many times something maybe went through CTLS or it went out as a phone message, and I would get parents to say, hey, I never got that. But then when we dug a little bit, maybe the phone number changed, maybe the email changed. So making sure as a parent that your contact information is updated, and also selecting how you want to be notified. So if I want the text, get the text. Or if you want the emails, get the emails. Or when I was a principal, we would do the call out. So really making sure that you have set up how you want to be notified. Do you want the push notifications to your phone? So as a parent, there's some work on the front end so that you can get that information, but it's so helpful. Listen, I had 3 at 3 different levels, so I get the being overwhelmed, but also too, as a working parent, it let me know what was happening. Even though I may not have been there at that moment, then I knew what was happening at school, or when is this project due, or these are some needs of our classroom or of our teacher.
Yeah.
So it definitely kept me in the know of what was happening at the school. The great things, as well as some things that, maybe we're doing, well, we did the code, we did the drill, or we did whatever we did. We went to the assembly today. So just letting parents give, just a little insight into what happened at school.
Now, I'm not going to rat out my kids, but there are some children who don't tell the truth all the time, just some. And it's helpful as a parent to be able to go back to a teacher's class assignment and say, oh, yeah, you kind of do have homework tonight. Oh, yeah, that project is due tomorrow. It's not, it doesn't matter. Which, so some of the responses you get from kids are funny at times. They're so bad. But this is one of those things that really is incredibly helpful just in terms of being able to keep track of it all. Because I know, like you, I've had multiple kids in different levels, and you get emails that are just overwhelming. Like I would get an email from a teacher who expected me to know by their name who they were. Well, that's nice. I would like to be able to, but I just don't have that kind of a memory. So in my case, 7 kids, 5 teachers each, it kind of adds up, and it becomes problematic. So CTLS Parent is phenomenal in that regard. Tell us another way that they can stay tuned in.
Another way, I would say the school's website. And so on the school's website, there typically are different tabs, whether it's for administration, whether it's for the staff, whether it's for the community, whether it's linking up with PTA. So the school's website is also a great resource for parents. And then, like you said, you had 7 kids, I had 3. And sometimes, especially when they got to a certain age, I needed my kids to be empowered, and I needed them to keep me in the know. So back in the day when we actually had to sign the actual paper, I had one of my girls say, well, Mommy, you didn't sign it. And I said, no. You didn't give it to me to sign.
It didn't make it home.
It didn't make it home. And so really working with our children, too, to make sure that they are just as a part of their education as we are. Now with so many things electronic, even just a reminder, hey, Mom, remember, we're going on the performing arts trip in 2 weeks. Remember to go in and sign it. Or remember that we've got the field trip to Rock Eagle. Remember, there's a payment. So really asking our kids to be a part of it, not relying on them totally, but for them to know that, hey, you also need to keep me aware. But like I said, the school's website, also if your school has a PTA or PTSA and a foundation, those are also great resources to help, whether it's volunteering or to help with what different activities are coming up, whether it's the fall festival. Do we need certain things for the fall festival? Can we pre-order tickets? So the website also provides a wealth of information. And something that our communications department did several years ago was all the websites are really set up in the same way.
Yes.
While the school's middle part is basically for the school, it's set up so that if you have an elementary, middle, or high school student, the things on the left are some of those consistent things across the different schools. So that helps parents navigate those websites.
It is nice having that consistency across the different websites. I think maybe there's only one high school that does things a little bit differently, but still, I mean, knowing where to go to find things on each website is very helpful.
Absolutely.
So, and you mentioned something there that may sound a little I guess like an extra, a nice thing, but I think it might bear repeating, and that is social events help with the academic side, right?
So when students are involved in extracurriculars, not only is that something that's helping your student, because everybody has their strength area, and so finding that as a parent with your child can sometimes be challenging, but once you do, now you have another cadre of parents who are on this journey with you.
Yes.
So I had one child in drama club, in the managerial stage manager behind the scenes, had an athlete, and then had another in drama with the acting or the government and debate and all of that. And so when you find those areas that your child likes, you've just created another village to help you. So then you're signing up to bring snacks, or you're bringing lunch, or you're the parent doing this, or you can text this group, hey, what did they say we needed to do? What time do we need to be at the field? Who's doing lunch today? Who's doing snacks? And so it really extends that village. And those extracurriculars also help our students with their time management, with keeping them excited, because if it's something that they like and they're looking forward to, it just makes the journey more exciting. And then as they get older and they're having to manage their time between their academics and then maybe between their extracurriculars, whether it's the arts or whether it's athletics, all of it goes together. Academics, arts, and the athletics. And when those all are synced up for your student, it just makes the journey so exciting.
Yeah.
And so awesome.
And variety. It
Yes.
provides some variety outside of the classroom. Not that the classroom is boring. Our teachers are great in keeping our kids engaged. But let's face it, it's a challenge for hours at a time. And having that ability to maybe go on a stage and dance or go outside and play football or what have you, those are important parts to growing up and academics, right? So what if a parent does all of these things and still finds themselves challenged with getting connected, having that awareness of what's going on? Where can they turn?
So every school has at least one counselor, typically multiple counselors. It depends on the size of the school. So imagine your elementary schools probably have anywhere from 1 to 2 or 3 counselors, where high schools may have as many as 4, 5, or 6 counselors. So every school has a counselor. Also, each school has a social worker assigned to them. Now, some of our social workers, all of them, share a school or schools, but each school does have a social worker assigned to them. Also, some schools have parent facilitators, so a lot of our title-funded schools have parent facilitators. Also, each one of our schools has a school nurse, because we can't discount that sometimes there are medical reasons that a school or that a child may or may not be able to participate wholeheartedly, whether it's academics or something else. And each school also has an SSA, which is a special services administrator. So if a student does have an IEP, or a parent may suspect that they need an IEP, then there are people in those buildings to help them. And then if all else fails, you can't remember anything I just said, you are welcome to reach out to the assistant principal or the principal. They love to help, and they want to make sure that our students have everything that they need to be successful, because student success is what we want.
Absolutely. And quite frankly, I've never been a principal, but I would ask the lady who has, doesn't it feel good as a principal for somebody to call you and you have an easy answer? They know who the resources are that could help you, and they love helping people who have a need such as what you've just explained. David,
I would say it feels absolutely amazing when you are able to support a student so that they can reach their full potential. It feels amazing. I don't know how many times I was in my office in a meeting. I've got everybody in there, the counselor, the social worker, the assistant principal, the teacher. We've got folks on the phone, and the nurse, we're trying to figure it out for a student. But it does the heart some good when you know that you have put forth every effort to make sure a student is successful. Our mission is one team, one goal, student success. That looks very different for every student, but we do have the resources in our schools to support our students or to guide parents to spaces that they need to go to make sure their child is successful.
Okay. Well, as you said, tight communities really help foster that I guess, culture of excellence that we're striving for all of our students to acquire. How else can parents foster that in their family with their students?
So I would say just connecting with different families, going to the events, following the school on social media, following the district on social media. So we're across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
All the schools?
I said Twitter. I meant X.
Well, now wait a minute. This is kind of like Prince, right?
Yes.
you always end up saying the artist formerly known as
sorry.
Prince. Okay.
Well, X.
The social space formerly known as Twitter. But this applies to all of the schools. They now have...
I would say that each school has some space of a social media presence.
Okay.
And even within the schools, the different sectors may have social media. So if your child is playing basketball, there's probably a basketball group, the social media group, whether it's the drama club. And so in some sort of way, even with the extracurriculars, there's a social media presence. So get informed in those spaces. A lot of times there, like I said, the group text within that particular association or group. So yes, there's some sort of social media presence.
Okay. And the bigger picture, let's back up a notch. Okay, so we've talked about the classroom, we've talked about the school level. So if parents are wanting to know more about where this big ship is turning, I mean, we are the biggest employer in Cobb County, I think, still.
Yes.
How can they learn more about where the district as a whole is going in terms of the various things of concern to them?
So I would say looking at the district website, again, it is a wealth of information that could almost be overwhelming. However, if you sit down and take a look at it, if you have a question about academics, there's a whole, academic space that you go to. If you have questions about technology, there are just different aspects of that are on our district website. Parents can also engage in our school board meetings. They are once a month. So if you can't come in person, you can look at those. We air them live. And if you're not able to look at it live or to make it, they're also posted on our website. And our district sends out a weekly newsletter. So every Friday it comes out. And so even though my kids are not here, I'm still here. And I like to keep up with things that are happening. So you open that up every Friday. And then if you can't read it on Friday, it's there on the website. And it like I said, there's just a wealth of information, and there are the chiefs each have our departments laid out, and then there's contact information. So if you need to call or email someone a question, we are more than happy to point you in the right direction or walk with you hand in hand in that journey, whatever we need to do to make sure your child is successful or your child or family member is successful.
Well, that's awesome. And I'll even put in an extra plug. Cobb Ed TV is the cable channel. You can see the board meetings there, cable channel 24 on Comcast. Can't recall, they're on Charter as well, but I can't recall that number. So that's another way that you can stay connected. Well, Sherri, thank you so much for sharing all the things that you've given us, insights. And if you found something in this episode that could help you manage your family life and dealing with all of the information that's probably inundating you right now, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast and share it with someone else. They may appreciate having that resource. Thank you for listening to this edition of The Inside Scoop, a podcast produced by the Cobb County School District.